Well, it's almost Judgment Day in Portland. I will explain what I mean in a second. But first, it's business as usual. We are still seeing Portland protesters and federal agents clashing every single night at this Portland Federal Building since June. So what do I mean by Judgment Day? Well, on November 2nd, on a Sunday, judges will decide as to whether or not the National Guard will be deployed to Portland. And in this video, we will be covering what happened on day 3 of the trial. And spoiler alert, the National Guard is being accused of causing tension whenever they are deployed. Get ready for this video. Now, before we start the video, make sure you please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, and it also helps others see the videos as well. It's a massive help, and I think people want to see what's going on with this National Guard deployment. There's a lot to unpack. Okay, so everything you see right here happened just 24 hours ago, which is not great news for the Portland police or the city of Portland, who are arguing that everything is okay, it's not that chaotic or violent. Now, what we have learned throughout this trial is that the Portland police are not even legally able to help with this situation right here. According to their own sanctuary city policies, they cannot help when it comes to road enforcement because of sanctuary policies and because you're mingling with federal agents. Now, what we're also learning in this trial is that federal agents have conducted about 130 to 150 arrests that have to do with this Portland Federal Building since June. And this is a little bit of a contradiction considering the Portland police have not really been making any arrests, and the city of Portland is saying it's not even that bad, everything is peaceful. And by the way, thank you Haley for that video. Go give her a follow. She's really earning her stripes and getting a bunch of good content. So please go give her a follow, go support her, go tell her we say hello. Okay, now moving over to Katie Davis Court. Again, go give her a follow as well. She did a whole recap on what happened on day 3. Get ready for this. The state of Oregon and the city of Portland deployed a strategy through previous witness testimony, hearing from Portland police officers who claim National Guard deployment would inflame protest, potentially increasing civil unrest. So what you have right here is the city of Portland and the Portland police pointing the fingers to the soldiers of the United States and saying, you guys will cause civil unrest. Quite the tactic. So the clip you just saw, apparently, according to the Portland police, according to Oregon, the situation would have been way more worse. That clip would have been worse if the National Guard was there. Now, of course, the National Guard's like, hold on. National Guard Major General Timothy Rager testified that in his 30-plus years of experience with the National Guard, he has only seen guardsmen provide a calming effect when deployed to assist with civil disturbances. So the judge did ask, hey, if the Guard is deployed, would they be armed? Riger testified that the decision is up to each commander, but stated it's common practice for guardsmen to be armed, as to not leave troops defenseless in critical situations. Wow, this is very applicable right now because we just saw an instance where this could happen in Washington, D.C. Again, 24 hours ago. These are National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C. being overran and attacked. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not here saying, hey, arm them all up and get ready to engage the protesters. Absolutely not. But one thing we do have to say is it would definitely be a deterrent, but also it would be used for self-defense if the entire facility got overran in Portland. Also, I just think it's an odd question to ask if US Army soldiers are going to be armed, considering this entire facility is well armed. I mean, we know for a fact there are snipers on top of the building. But again, the general made the point he doesn't want to leave troops defenseless. And look, if troops get hurt, who do you think we're going to point to as to whose fault it is? It's the general's fault. Now, Riker testified that he provided the Department of War with Oregon National Guard troops after receiving a request for assistance. He told the court that he issued a memo detailing violent protest action at the ICE facility after meeting with the officials across federal agencies. Something else I want to point out is, again, there was a mission debrief. He was told everything. He was told all of the footage we've been watching, all of the evidence. So it's not like this general is just walking in there and then his troops are going to clash with protesters. He has seen enough evidence to know what he has to do and what he has to provide for the situation, which is about 200 National Guardsmen. Now, interesting enough, the ICE Seattle field office director testified in support of the National Guard being deployed to Portland. Walmsley told the court that ICE does not have the resources to continue lending SRT officers to protect the facility, stating these officers need to return to high-risk immigration enforcement operations. Okay, so what we're also learning in this trial is that apparently Homeland Security is having a fatigue issue, and this is the same argument that the Portland police are making, that we don't have enough manpower. Well, over for Homeland Security, they're kind of saying the same thing. Here's a prime example. These guys right here in the black, that's the Federal Protective Services. They are the ones who are supposed to be in charge of everything you see right here, such as defending the building. But the problem is you need about 150 to 180 federal agents on 30-day rotations of 24-hour protest. It is very easy to fatigue your troops quite fast. So you probably notice we see other federal agents in the area who are not matching with the Federal Protective Services, which means your taxpayer money is being spent on ICE agents doing riot control instead of ICE agents doing ICE agent things, such as going out in the field and doing deportations. So to the Trump administration, they are arguing, hey, just send in the National Guard so we don't have to flood all of these federal assets who have nothing to do with riot control or protest control. Let them go do their job and send in the National Guard. And again, over at the Seattle field office, they're saying we don't have enough resources to send in the SRT officers, Special Response Team. It's not that ICE can't do the job or Border Patrol of riot control. That's just literally not their job, and it is a waste of taxpayer money. That's not what they get paid to do. So, of course, over in Seattle, they're saying this would allow federal officers across various agencies who are deployed to the ICE facility to return to their normal job duties. She mentioned Title VIII immigration enforcement efforts and the negative impact the protests have caused on such operations. So when people say, what does this little Portland protest have to do with anything outside of Portland? Well, it's obviously causing a ton of issues even outside of Portland. Then Walmsley testified that the ongoing violent protest caused her to close the Portland ICE office for several weeks, removing ICE personnel from the facility due to safety threats which impacted operations. Which, by the way, many people are missing this point. That means that protesters have caused harm to the people they are trying to support. If you shut down an ICE field office, this means you are stopping the ability for an illegal immigrant to get some direct action from a lawyer or from representatives to try and help you out as an illegal immigrant. I thought the point of this protest was to try and get rid of ICE, but if anything, you're actually now causing harm to illegal immigrants who are trying to get the proper due process. And by the way, if we did, for whatever reason, got rid of this field office, protesters are protesting, this means that illegal immigrants will be sent all the way to Seattle, and their families are now having to travel to Seattle as well to include representation for anyone who lives in Portland. Again, these are things many people keep ignoring. So even if you hate ICE, you're actually doing a lot more harm when you try to get rid of this building, which is why the federal government is saying, just bring in the National Guard. If anything, you're actually helping out the protesters. Now from here, the Seattle field director said, having ICE personnel from across the nation deployed to the facility has created significant safety issues while apprehending apprehending criminal illegal aliens during field operations due to a shortage of officers on the scene. Now, since we've been covering this story since June, and again, make sure to please subscribe so I can keep you up to date with this story, we have seen many different rotations of federal assets deployed to this Portland Federal Building. Sometimes the federal agents are really good at their job. Sometimes you can see some sloppiness going on, not hating on the federal agents, but to the point of the Seattle field director, you create a lot of inconsistency when you keep up these rotations. You need to be on your game 24/7. And by sending in the National Guard, this will make sure we have top peak performance 24/7. You're not pulling assets from around the country, and now all of a sudden you're having to retrain and regroup. There were times where we had some issues here with the federal agents. Now, they always got the job done, but some rotations who have a lot of experience, they're a lot more aggressive. They know what they're doing with protesters, but other times it just wasn't that way. Again, we have to report it as it is, and this is verified by the Seattle field director. They just want consistency, their troops need rest, and they want the National Guard to come in. And by the way, for anyone who's ever served in the US military, this is super applicable to those situations as well. I was a combat engineer. I was always attached to different units. Every single time we kept switching units and working with different units, there was a period of time where you had to get to know each other, work together. You don't have time here. Once you're on the field, you're working. That's the problem we're seeing here in Portland as well, and we're seeing it in the trial. Okay, so Katie also reports, despite FPS and ICE officials repeatedly testifying that federal law enforcement agencies do not have the staffing levels available to continue deploying resources to the ICE facility, the city of Portland remains arguing that federal employees can assist instead of the National Guard. The state of Oregon claims security guards can be used to assist in protecting the federal facility. This claim was refuted by the defense, stating they are not authorized to perform federal functions. The defense and plaintiffs rested their case, closing arguments coming soon. Then she says U.S. Marshals have had to repeatedly intervene with anti-ICE Antifa agitators, making disruptions in the courtroom. The trial has concluded, and the judge will make a decision on Sunday. Now, here's the reality of the situation. Since June up until today, the city of Portland has always expected that the National Guard will eventually be deployed to Portland. Whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, at some point they assume it's going to happen. So the city council just went ahead and made their own law and divisions between the Portland police, which they're arguing in court, and the city to protect themselves from having to work with the federal government. Now, this is a very recent interview from October 30th. Check out what this city councilor has to say. This man right here.
The council voted unanimously for the Protect Portland initiative in response to ICE actions. Practically, what does that do, or what will it do?
In a world where we've got the federal government acting outside of any sort of norms, I think it's been important that Portland City Council, the Portland mayor, that different governments across our community signal to our public what they can expect from us.
And what he's talking about specifically, acting outside of the norm, is working in conjunction with other federal assets. So working in conjunction, basically, you have ICE, then you have the National Guard, then you have other federal assets all working together in order to accomplish a task. Now, he's talking about ICE operations, deportations. We know Portland is a sanctuary city. It's all about anti-deportations. But working unconventionally, sending in the National Guard, that's what he's referring to, working with other federal assets alongside ICE.
Portland employees, no city employee will ever participate in anything related to immigration enforcement. If you come to do business at a city building, once you enter a city building, and we have designated what areas are public and what areas are private so that ICE agents are not allowed into those areas. These are incredibly important. It's also important.
Now, I know what you're saying. What does riot control and road control have to do with deportations or anything like that? That's the point I've been trying to say throughout all of my videos since June. It has nothing to do with anything deportations, according to the federal government. But to the city of Portland, hold on. If a van is being transported and federal agents want to move everybody out of the roadway, does that van have illegal immigrants in it? That means you're working with deportations, and the Portland police cannot do that. That's how vague these laws are.
For our employees and our contractors, all to know what the differences are between the different types of warrants that we see immigration officials using. So the city of Portland is going to train our employees up. We're signaling to the rest of Portland what they can expect from us. And during a time when the federal government is inserting fear into every single neighborhood in Oregon, and particularly in the metro area, I think it's really important that they know that their local government is not part of that game, and that their local government remains ready to serve them for whatever their needs are. If it's, going to a state DMV, if it's coming to a permit office at the city of Portland, or if you have to call 911 because you're in trouble, you shouldn't have fear.
This is very ironic because the people who've been trying to call 911, American citizens who live across from the ICE building, the first question they're met with, do you live near the ICE building? And then their 911 calls don't get answered. So I find that rather interesting.
That police call is going to somehow be involved with immigration. And so it's important for safe communities that Portland understand where the city of Portland's leadership is at. And I think that that's what that resolution and what the accompanying sanctuary city ordinance did.
Basically, a way more sanctuary status than they already had. That's the best way I can explain this. I've already gone into detail what this is all about, and there are some things in there that you wouldn't expect, such as Portland police. No, you cannot work with federal agents if they are trying to move people out of the road, even if that means 500 protesters are about to attack the federal building, but there's a van that needs to come in and out, and there's an illegal immigrant in the van. Nope, can't help. That has to do with sanctuary status. That'll break the law. Okay, so depending when you're watching this video, we're either going to have a judgment call or we're not. But either way, it's going to be a very big deal. If the National Guard comes in, will we see more clashing? If the National Guard gets denied, are we going to see the National Guard still come in? I have no idea. I'm just here to report the story to you, and I really thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure to please go follow Haley and Katie Davis Court. Make sure to please subscribe to my channel. I want to keep you up to date with all of this stuff. Thank you guys for everything. We always advocate for peace on my channel, so please pray for peace, especially for Portland right now. Thank you guys for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later.